humanity. Why don't you join us on this journey? Away from all the things that find. Upon the axles of my spirit, let it begin in your mind. Join the rhythm, let your soul arise. Fly to your destiny. Where you will find your satisfaction from an experience. Waiting for you when you leave behind out behind. You never turn back. You see what's on the other side. Travel on. Let your feet fly. You'll reflect your other side. Then you'll understand. And what leads you by. It's your reward. Understanding gives you peace of mind. Join the rhythm, let your soul rise. Make life to your destiny. There's a new world right before your eyes. If you will have the courage to see. Join the rhythm, let your soul rise. Make life to your destiny. There's a new world right before your eyes. If you will have the courage to see. Join the rhythm, let your soul rise. Make life to your destiny. There's a new world right before your eyes. If you will have the courage to see. Join the rhythm, let your soul rise. Make life to your destiny. There's a new world right before your eyes. If you
الحمد لله رب العالمين وبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. And to my co-host, partner in time, Camila Mahasan Bilalian Shuaib, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. You're muted.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. All right. How's your day going?
Oh, it was good. Had a lot of little adjustments to do. Monday is slowly shifting into my coaching days, off days, planning out the weekdays. So so it's a hair-free day, but it's still a working day.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, but it was good. It's good.
No doubt. Okay, so we're going to be sure, and we're inviting you all in advance to have some comment, input, engagement, questions, etc. I'm not going to try to be provocative, but maybe there might be some things that might provoke that engagement. We'll do that. So we just listened to a small portion of an interview with a person known as 19 Keys on Earn Your Leisure. Alhamdulillah, there is so much to say in that context. We always want to make sure that there's a takeaway that anybody with us is say, okay, well, take that with you, and it has a very important usage for you in this. So I don't know where because there's so many places that I could start from. But what strikes you first?
Well, I took a lot of notes on this because the conversation that always comes up is, well, okay, well, what do I do? It's like the practical applications
Yeah.
of business or the practical applications of investing. And there's a part of us that has to take a moment to identify what we have to offer to the marketplace.
Yeah.
I think that this idea that everyone has to be a brick and mortar or vending business is the only way to expand and create wealth,
Hmm.
or create their currency,
Yeah,
money,
and
right?
that kind of adds to. Are you going to go on? But I want to underscore that statement with what he talks about. One of his precepts is the idea of the wealth standard that we have been given versus the wealth standard that someone else has been given. Okay, so he's
Mhm.
shifting from, we've been told that sports and entertainment is the main way to go, right? Whereas
Right.
other ethnic groups have other wealth standards, other ways to go about getting it,
Absolutely.
right? And so now you're saying even those who have started to come into the entrepreneurial space with a sensitivity for that, sometimes also have a limited idea about how to engage that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. And I think that the first thing that everyone needs to do is to identify, what do you want?
Hmm.
Are you seeking to be a millionaire? Are you looking to be multi-millionaire? Are you just trying to, like, it's like, yeah, I want to be able to create an income that allows me freedom. You don't have to be a millionaire to do that, right? Because
Hmm.
like right now
Hmm.
I have freedom to
Hmm.
choose how I spend my time, but I'm not a millionaire,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so sometimes people are chasing after this unseen target. So
Hmm.
first we gotta be clear. What do you want? Some people
Yeah.
who have jobs are just like, I want my retirement fund to be X when I retire, and they move in that way
Right.
to reach that particular goal.
Hmm.
Now, when you start to think about having dreams or a vision for legacies, like, I want to build a masjid. Okay, now what does that require to do that? Or I want to be in a position to where, I'm making X amount per month. Like yesterday I journaled out, like, how much do what I want to make per month, and if I was making this much per month, then I'd really be good, right,
Right.
right at
Right.
that point, right?
Hmm.
But to get to that goal that I set for myself, there are still some very specific steps and mindset that I have to get myself prepared for in generating that kind of income. And not only generating it, but keeping it.
Right. Right.
Because yeah, you could get it, but you can get it by just saying, okay, I'm gonna work a couple of jobs and you making that
Hmm.
much per month.
Hmm.
Okay, but is that all you want? You want the freedom? I want my money to work for me. So I think that first thing, that's why I'm such an advocate for the journaling, right?
Hmm.
Is write down what it is that you want. What would it look like in order to do that? If you are a business, say whether it's consulting or selling products, how many products or how many clients would you need to serve in order to reach this monthly goal?
Yeah.
But right now it's just, it's like, I just want to pay my bills. Okay, then let's talk about that then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you need to do for that is a very different level of energy than if you're talking about, I want to retire at the age of 30, or I want to
Yeah.
retire at the
Yeah.
age of 50 with this much money.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I want to add to always the idea of these concretes from Al Islam. Like one of my notes that I took away from what he's saying is that there's a certain coherence to what he's saying, and so therefore that makes it more comprehensive. Now I have to put in a qualifying note because my thing is always about educating people about things that you might miss in a piece. Take the good, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but don't swallow no fish bones at the same time. One of the
Right.
things one of the things is that don't confuse comprehension with correctness. Don't confuse comprehension with correctness. Everything that's understandable is not necessarily the right thing. Okay, it makes all kind of sense. It follows logically, etc. But none of that relates to what we heard from the interviewer, 19 Keys. But for the record, as speaking of the record, because when someone goes to follow up and say, yeah, what is the one that they talked about on wealth creation? Then when you hear him saying man is God, and when he start talking about that Yakub's history type conversation, I want you to know that it's qualified in this way. So I need to read this disclaimer that we added to our blog talk blurb, starting with 7th chapter, 145th verse, where it says, I was a beloved, said, and we ordained laws for him. Speaking of Musa, alayhi salatu wasalam, Moses, we ordained laws for him in the tablets in all manners, both commanding and explaining all things, and said, take and hold these with firmness, and enjoin on your people to hold fast to the best in the precepts. Okay, so that's my Quranic statement, that whatever is excellent in the precept, hold on to that. Whatever is not excellent in the precepts, let it go. Right? So I say,
and that's with everything.
And that's with everything. That's Quran. That's what it's talking about.
Yeah.
So in this specifically, mashallah, unfortunately, the background of 19 Keys appears to be rooted in the teaching of the Nation of Islam. And he does subscribe to the man is God doctrine that it includes. So we have to separate ourselves from that subscription. However, leaving the detail of that controversy for another time, we know that there was and is truth in many of the abstractions couched in those teachings, and it is that we are using as a sounding board for this broadcast only. Okay, so it's not a full endorsement of everything that he's about and what have you. Those of you who have either seen or will go and see, you'll see that he has a part of his brand is the makeup of what appears to be like that fez of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the crescent moon star, blah blah blah. So okay, so that's a clear homage, whatever, to his upbringing. Apparently, he was brought up in a family that was tied to the Nation of Islam. He's quote unquote a young man, I believe, younger than both you and I in that sense, and he started on his journey at 19 years old. So he's obviously of the later dispensation in that regard. Now, having said all that, I need to say this: the coherence of his, I used to have your there it is. Do you have one of these? You have one of these?
I do. I have plenty.
You got one of these? Oh yeah, I got one too. Well, you up on it if you got that, right? Go ahead and tell the people. Don't get carried away. I'm gonna come back with something, but tell the people what I'm showing you right here.
Control your narrative. That's our tagline for my company. Love is always the subject, and the whole ideal of when you're writing your journal is you controlling your story and not adopting someone else's narrative in how you move. So controlling your narrative and everything it is that we do. Like I took so many different notes just from what we had listened to, and this. And when you talk about the comprehension, that we can. I think the thing that stuck out to me in my notes of what I had wrote down is that we have to get to this place where we trust this vessel, the heart, right? That there's a uniqueness that's specially couture Quran for us, right? There's an understanding that I have because of the experience in my life that I have had, that when I try to clothe it with someone else's idea of their experience with the Quran, it may not do the same thing for me because I'm wearing their outfit of based on their experience.
Right.
So the importance of really understanding it for oneself and trusting this vessel, that where it's made clear, if it troubles your heart, leave it alone. Like, okay, like this troubles my heart, but what through what filter are you using? Are you using a Quranic filter, or are you using someone else's filter? Because then you're wearing someone else's skin.
Yeah.
So we
Let
want
me
to
add
wear
this.
our own skin in that.
Yes, yeah. And in terms of that narrative, so there's a coherence to his narrative. There's a language, even like when we, meaning speaking of myself, as
Yeah.
the Nation of Islam, that the point is that the script was clear. You could follow the script, stay with the script, stay on the script, and so there's the coherence. And what I'm saying is that even as he explained, he said the theme of do for self was always a part of the family, but the how to was what was missing. And so that's when he said he's going there. And I have to admit that for as far as those of us who made the transition and had to deal with the transformation and the transition and the change of language and et cetera, it's like some did lose the line as, okay, well, what's the narrative now? You could put it like that. Well, what's the narrative now? And for some, it was said we need to get back to the old narrative, and mainly because that's what I understood. That's what I understand.
Right.
And so therefore not
Right.
being able to make the transition, particularly the language transition, is where, and some people, just fell through the cracks for as far as that's concerned. But in
Hmm.
terms of what al-Islam actually brings, as a way to do what's being said, what he has done with what he has grasped is what more of those who are identified in our association actually need to do with what has been done, with what has been given to us. And I'm going to say this one thing, and invite you back in, that language, logic, and sensitivity, right? Even when he said well standards, he said, standards, what kind of in fact, the first question that Rashad asked him was, when he used the term wealth standards, he said, basically he said, Rashad, he said, I felt it, I got it, but I really didn't understand it. So that's where I want to start. He, in the interview, he said he want to start with that. And
Right.
what he went on to explain was that we standard, when you do have standards, then you have a set of expectations to hold somebody to. If you don't have any
Right.
standards, then you don't have any boundaries or ways to do that. And that literally is a statement about language. And we already have the idea of language, logic, sensitivity. So, but he has done that in terms of the fullness and the maturity of his ideas, is because, as we are on the website, putting down the idea of the problem, intuition, idea, ideology, institution, and culture. When he can speak as fluently as he does, following the logic of his idea, he's demonstrating that he's gone far down that path with regard to his particular narrative. I'll put it that way, because he has an ideology. He has an ideology. He has the logic of his idea, and he has formed them into things to do, and that's where the success is. I say for us at large, I say us Muslims in association and Bilalian Muslims in particular, there are some that do have it right, but in the broader base of institutionalizing our quote unquote ideology, particularly in the language of Imam Waziri Muhammad, there's still a lot of work to be done in that regard.
Yeah, and I think that there's a importance of establishing systems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have not established systems. You know, I think that there's an evolution. I don't want to say renaissance, because that part is coming, I believe, for our community. But there is a transition happening. Um, we need to, as a community, move out of the old ways in which we've done business. So when you look at the language that we use, the do for self, like I grew up in the do for self
Mm-hmm.
era, which is like the ideal of having a job. It just never, I just it never clicked with me. Like I got a job for survival
Yeah.
purposes, but I knew that I had to have a business. So I have done all kinds of things because I didn't understand the practical application of really a business has to consist of the spirit of your creation, of who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
if that's not what's driving that business, the business will only do what you're asking it to do. It's only going to go to the PG&E. It's only going to go to the rent. It's only going to go to, the car note. That's all it's going to do because you're creating this business to make money, right?
Right. Right.
When you're creating a business to solve a problem, or
Mm-hmm.
creating a business for the betterment of humanity, or
Mm-hmm.
creating this business in service to Allah who gave you the gift and you're giving it back,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where the wealth happens. We touched on that before, but I wanted to come back to just in listening to this conversation, I want to give everyone some real concrete, applicable, you know, tools, because I think that that's one thing that we miss out in so many ways. Like as Black people, as Indigenous people, as Bilalians, we have this tendency to get so emotionally caught up in the fireworks of a thing, like, ooh, the way somebody spit their verse, ooh, he got bars,
Mm-hmm.
that, and then we get this emotional bubble up, and then
Mm-hmm.
when it's over, we have no tools as to
Mm-hmm.
what to do with all of this, but we keep paying a ticket for the concert
Mm-hmm.
to hear that part of it, and then we still leave empty because there was no real spiritual connection to what information is being shared, the spirit and rituals connected to create this business that has a life of its own. And so I want to, the one thing that he mentioned was about diversifying the skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's bars, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, well, tell me what that is, and I
Yeah.
didn't get that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this diversifying skill set is, each of us is a business. So, when you wake up, you're a business. When the moment you came Earthside, you a business. The child is a business because they want their bottle. So they
Mm-hmm.
cash in with a cry, or
Mm-hmm.
they smile real cute, or so this is the currency between the baby and whomever else. So there's something happening there that they know the business. If I do this, I get that. If
Right.
I do this, I get that. I love you, daddy. I love you, mommy. I get
Mm-hmm.
this. So this is the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you become good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So your existence, you don't have to have a brick and mortar or whatever else. Sit down and write out a job description to be you. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean everything.
Mm-hmm.
The whatever that job description is consists of, I mean, down to your daily activities. There's something in there that you're going to find that you are masterful at, like, and don't think that there's not currency in it. There's currency in it. There's
Mm-hmm.
currency in how to organize a refrigerator. There's
Mm-hmm.
currency in taking notes and transcribing. There's currency in thought,
Mm-hmm.
inspired thought. There's
Mm-hmm.
currency in how to help your children create a schedule and get them off to school and plan out the week. So you need to create a job description of everything it is that you do. Find that thing, because you're already doing it for free. So find that thing, and it's like, who needs to understand how to do X?
Mm-hmm.
Then there, you are at the very base level of planting the seed of a possible business, right? And
Yeah.
we haven't really banked our skill set in order to see that there's a business available, because we're in the era of knowledge right now.
Mm-hmm.
The people who have the most know-how are cashing in,
Yeah.
but you haven't decided on what it is that you know. Go ahead.
All right. So in terms of that market, you're actually in doing that. You're actually defining your market. You know, who
Right.
is it? Who is it that needs what I supply? Right. So, and as you've said, just reinforcing what you said, the idea is you have to identify, analogically speaking, the business that you are. I am a business that can dispense this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter. If it happens to be sports, good for you. If it happens to be entertainment and art, and whatever it is, it's a skill set. If it's a skill set, if it solves a problem, then there's a
Right.
market for it. And so in terms of that, I want to just join you in reinforcing the idea that self discovery. And then when you say, you identify as a job description, but it's like if your excellence were a business, what would it be? You know,
Mhm.
and the way I understand branding is that the brand is the way you do business. That's your brand. So in terms of your what you bring to the market, how you satisfy the needs of those people who need what you bring, that is also
Right.
describing that. The Islamic perspective for that too is that where Allah says, he says, whenever he intends a thing, he simply says to it, be, and it is. And one of the translations of it is, whenever he plans a thing, he simply says, be to it, and it is, right? So I always use that to say, well, if Allah has to plan, because effectively he said he has a plan, then he says to the plan, be, and it is.
B.
So how
Mhm.
can we get anywhere without a plan, right? We have to have a
It's
plan.
impossible.
Yeah.
You've got to
And
have a plan.
along with that, in terms of this, ultimately, that's going to ultimately come out how you quote unquote get from nothing to something, and nothing is in big air quotes, is that when you take it off your heart, off your mind, put it on the page, it is becoming tangible at that very moment. That is, it is beginning to take form in three-dimensional space. As soon as you take it off your heart, take it off your mind, put it on paper, that paper is the plan. That paper is the virtual reality of what it is you're talking about. Now, given that you lay that out in the proper way and carry out the plans just like a recipe, and carry out the plan, then in time is going to take on those other dimensions, right? First is
Right.
totally abstract, just a good feeling, a good idea. Now you got it as a plan. Now, when you put your action behind the plan, then the plan, like, massages it, if you will, metaphysically speaking. And then before, quote unquote, before you know it, it's like, oh, there it is. What is that? The thing that you had in your heart, that you had on your mind, that you wrote down as a plan, and that you followed that plan, and soon will what he strives for come into sight, right? So all of this is what we have to do. Let's invite those of you on Blog Talk. You can join the conversation. Push one on your phone and come on through. Those of you who are on the Facebook and YouTube side of it, you can chime in with a quote, a comment, with a comment or question, etc. We want to hear from you, so it doesn't have to be just us. We don't want it to be just us. That's not our preferred way. We'd like to get you
Right.
into the conversation. So, Blog Talk, push one on your phone, come on through. I think this is my brother Taysir. Am I correct?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Like,
assalam. How you doing, Taysir?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah. I was listening to the program, and I really truly agree with that planning. I remember when I was working, and I planned out, from moving from job to job. I planned out one job. I say I would be gone in 5 years. I wrote it down, what I wanted to do. 5 years I was gone. Moved on to the other job, which was, I guess, Chevron. I went to Chevron. I stayed 35 years there. But
Wow.
in the meantime, I knew that would come to an end quickly.
Mhm.
But all this time, I'm planning. I was really planning. And people don't realize how quickly that time passes.
Oh man.
And here I am. here I am, 67 years retired, but the plans worked out beautiful for me, because, like I say, I started planning a long time. When I had that job, I knew I wanted to be free from, that. When I retired, I knew what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
So the planning is if you don't plan, you're not going anywhere or be successful in life.
Alhamdulillah.
I just want to put that out there.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I want to, alhamdulillah, thank you so much. I want to interject the generational gaps of how, my parent generation and the current generation, like even with, Hanifa, and then like I'm right in between that, right? Hanifa, Muhammad, I'm talking about my siblings, Hanifa and Muhammad, right? That this what was established during our parent generation for how to prepare for retirement, get the job, that does not exist anymore. That idea it existed even when I started working, right? But now the way that the economy has been shifting, you have to learn a new way. Like Bitcoin within itself is a new way. Of those stocks is still there right now. That is even different than what it was before now, right? And when we don't make the time to invest to understand a thing, the money flows to those who know. So if you're not passionate about stocks, that still doesn't mean you're not supposed to learn it. I'm not moved by stocks, right? So I know I have to hire a person. I need to have an understanding so I don't get jacked for somebody that's handling my money. But at the same point, like I some people sit and they can just read about it and look it up, and they are just like geeked on. I don't get geeked on it on things like that.
Well,
so
everybody has their own.
Who knows, right?
Everybody has their own particular emphasis. So that's there. We got a couple more people online. We want to get them in, and we want to make sure we leave space for all. All right. Zarina, assalamu alaikum. 215, I see you. You coming up next. Yes.
Walaikum assalam, alhamdulillah, to both of you and to the audience. I just wanted to chime in on the fact that, I came through the Nation of Islam, and do for self has stuck with me from that point. And, it's what I've learned over the years is that if that's what you want, that's what you'll get. If you have the mindset of having a business, you will have a business, because that's your mindset. It's not, you're not able to get into, you might work for somebody, but like the brother was saying, you're always thinking of where am I going? Then, just the fact that, if we fail the plan, we plan to fail.
Yes.
And so we have to have a plan. And one of the things I'm learning from myself is that if what you want, you have to continue to see that. You have to continue to have that vision. And you can't look at your current circumstances. You have to know that, if Allah has put it in your heart for you to do something, then He knows you can do it.
Yes.
He says He doesn't, give us no burden that we can't handle. So if He gives us an idea, we can handle it. We just have to believe in ourselves and move forward. So that's what I wanted to share.
Alhamdulillah.
Allahu
Akbar. Thank you so much. All right. 215. What's your name? Where you calling from? This is Rick? Who is it?
Dante, brother. Man.
Oh, Dante, man. I got you, man. I got you on lock, bro. Okay, good. I got you.
Assalamu
alaikum assalam. How you doing, man?
Wonderful. I am absolutely loving the conversation between you and your daughter. It's phenomenal. She's the apple has not fallen far.
Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
Just as insightful. But a few points I wanted to make was that I quote a tail end of the conversation with 19 keys. But talking about family, and I really like what he said, the things that you guys talk about in terms of family, because in my family, me and my wife, we've had several businesses together that were, that we just tried, and some were successful and some were unsuccessful. But having a conversation with our son, like we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about real estate. We're getting him into coding, and just like Camila said, having different, like knowing that having a job in the future is probably not going to be the thing that you can retire on. And so establishing that as a way for him to think now, so that he will think, entrepreneurial, or just think in a way that he's not like me. I worked the job for 30 years and then retired. So that may not be there for him. But with having Bitcoin as Bitcoin, hoping that becomes the legacy that we leave behind for him and our other children, that's what we hope to do. And just the continual conversations, listening to you is such I don't even know how to. It's just such a blessing to be able to know that there are people that care enough about our community to keep doing what you do, and now even bringing your daughter in and seeing, that you've shown her and like doing it for the family, and keeping it in the family, and that the family can be successful together. I really appreciate it. That's all I'm there.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah. May Allah continue to bless us. Alhamdulillah. One of the things he said, wisdom is justified by her children. So, alhamdulillah, they do all make me proud. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for proud in the best possible way. And speaking about Bitcoin, and Fahmi, I see you, and I'm gonna hit you next. I want to make this comment. Since in terms of Bitcoin has been down under the 30s. It popped up over 42 over the weekend. Now it's creeping back towards 40, bouncing around 39,000. All of those numbers are K's, thousands, right? And I just thought about how anyone who happens to have, I'm just thinking in terms of one Bitcoin. The numbers are all different for everybody, of course, according to what you possess, right? Where you got people like MicroStrategy and Elon Musk who haven't sold any of his Bitcoin. They're making hundreds of millions and billions, even in the vacillation that's going on. But I'm saying when you talk about income, that is one asset where within a month, according, of course, but I'll just deal with just the one Bitcoin scenario, right? It's like then that means the vacillation or the volatility is such that it can go down. It can go down 5 or 10,000, but it also can go up 5 or 10,000. Whereas if a person can be looking at their quote unquote their assets, and that being one of them, it's like, I mean, what else can you or do you do which within the span of a week or two, it can be a $20,000 swing, right? So I'm just saying it's really it's that the new world that you're talking about, Camila. It is a different world. It is a different financial world, and there's still more to come. Let's get from Fahmi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ismail, what's going on?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm doing fine. I just wanted to follow up with the first brother. He was talking about the importance of planning. And we had an event this past couple of weeks, and we hadn't got together in a while, so we kind of wanted to make it a bigger event than normal, since this will be the first time we could get together. So we had the planning part down, had the budget and everything. And I think one important thing after planning, when you had that down, is that you need to do a post-event meeting about what went on. And that helped us out a lot, because we talked to attendants and we talked to each other on the board about, okay, we had this amount, but we went over. So what are we going to do next time? Because we plan on doing big things, and if we may have went over 500 this time on something bigger, it could be 5,000 or 15,000.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about the importance of after you do something or after your first, you accomplish something, go back and look at it and critique it.
Right.
And I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Are we talking about an investment group or?
He's just saying that in principle, the idea is that, plan, that's the before. Execute. I thought he was going to talk about execution, but okay, let's say you execute, but then when you execute, then it's sort of like, I don't like the term, but the autopsy, you know what I'm saying? Sort of like, okay, it's over, and how did this and why did this turn out this way or that way? So it's the follow-up, it's the feedback. It's the feedback from the execution so that you can use that information to build a better plan, right? So the plan also has to evolve, to scale and what have you. So that's what.
So if I could interject this,
go right
that strategy and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So this ideal of like, even if you have an investment group collective, the best way I can explain is like when I think about myself, there was a group of 5 of us 2 years ago. We were starting our business. We met up with each other at the Houston convention, and we were like, okay, let's support each other for 1 whole year as we build out our business. And it was just a safe space to work out the anxieties of business, a safe space to share, okay, look, this is my strategy. What's your feedback? Hey, I'm working on my logo. Put some eyes on this collective that we created. And we said we were going to be consistent with this for an entire year. Right. Mm-hmm. We still are in a chat group with each other. But the first year we had a heavy strategy about how we were going to share each other's stuff on social media. What sales are we getting ready for? What part of the season? We gas each other up on what are you doing different? Have you taken this class? And this is what we did for a whole year. And our businesses expanded faster because we were using each other as a support system. It's important to find either friends, family members, community folk, people who are of like mind on a particular mission. You trying to do it by yourself, you're not gonna get that far. You're just not. You'll make some steps, but if you're trying to catapult this thing forward, you need to have collective minds, because now you have a whole library of knowledge and understanding with these people within the group. So. Figure out the strategy and be consistent with that strategy. There's going to be times where you're not making no sales, or the stock is going to drop, or this is going to happen. This is a normal part of it. That doesn't mean throw it out, it doesn't work. No, it's like when you hold the magnifying glass on the ground with the sun beaming, you don't move it all over the place. You keep it still and you hold it there the entire time. If you don't have a match, what I'm saying? This is all you have. So that's the same thing about when you're working with this collective of building a business or anything, when you're building any level of wealth.
And to amplify that as we start to close out, we're kind of over the time that I'm trying to generally aim at. We're not going to lock in hard and fast on it. But what you're talking about is in Al-Islam. And the way that Al-Islam, the language for it is shura. Most people, when they think about shura, they think about it as, whatever, like legal problem solving or community problem solving,
right.
Or whatever. That they limit the perspectives, and see that's what goes to language, logic, sensitivity. One more lesson on that tonight. Language. Okay, what's language? Shura. Logic. Logic means what's the behavioral expectation? That is the answer to what does it mean. The answer to what does it mean is what am I supposed to do because of that language? Okay, so shura is language. The logic is the role of it is to discover the truth of whatever it is that is not known when the group gets together for the purpose of, okay, what's the answer? That's what shura is. So that shura now in contemporary language, in cognitive science, is called distributed cognition. Distributed cognition. Long before computers were networked, because the Google's AI and all the other and all these networks of computers that companies and global operations use, those are computer networks. But we are also greater, no doubt, than computers, but are we networked? That's a critical thing. When we network on a particular issue, that's where our power comes from. And this is what Allah says in the Quran, warabitu, and tie together. So if we can just get outside of the boundaries of thinking about the language in the religion only in worship and ritual terms, and translate those terms into science, industry, technology, because it's the same thing, but now applied to science, industry, and technology, then you get what the world has to offer by using that. So we do have to spend more time dialoguing, interacting with each other, because that's what amplifies and leverages what it is that we know. We're gonna start winding down here. Comments.
Oh, me. Okay, I
Yeah,
thought you was about to pull somebody
let
else.
me holler my brother Hector, brother Hector. I see you, Hector, from the 26B in Oakland. Alhamdulillah, sharing this on the East Coast. Alhamdulillah, wonderful, my dear brother. Alhamdulillah, thank you. All right, go ahead, Master. And anybody on Blog Talk, push one. Come on in. If you've already had comments and you didn't push one when you went out, then do that, because some of the board is still lit up, and I don't want to in oversight miss you if you actually do have a comment. Go ahead.
I think that besides that other part of what I had mentioned earlier about the job description, because like I'm on the professional development part of it. That's the best term I could come up with. Is that we have to evolve with the current, what's happening currently, in the economic space, right? So you get left behind when you don't allow yourself to do the study, right? And you have to know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Whether it's widening your learning curve, it's like, okay, well, I don't know anything about social media. Okay, well, then you need to find someone that does. If your audience is there, your audience may not be there, just leave that alone. But your audience is online because of the time that we're living in. He mentioned how so many businesses have had to pivot as a result of this pandemic, right? And so this is the same thing about with your business, being able to understand what that is going to mean and what that's going to look like. And if you don't understand what those plugins or different platforms or ways to expand your learning curve, then you have to decide on how you're going to invest in itself to know what it is. If you don't have a budget, it needs to be a budget line like anything else. Just like you pay for your cell phone, it's like, okay, well, all I have to budget is $100 a month on professional development, on education. That could be Audible. It could be an ACU Institute membership. It could be, coaching. It could be online classes through Udemy, whatever it is. You want to make sure you keep your mind fresh on all of the things that's happening, because what happens in the midst of that is that you're trying to watch a movie on a VCR and everybody else is streaming, and you're lost in the mix. And so this is what's really, really important about us really carving out the time and understanding of what that means. Those business practices, spiritual practices, and those economic practices, and understanding that yes, Islam is a full way of life, but yet, I'm not saying but yet, it's important that it's not just words that you're knowing by rote. Really understanding how the practical application for what that is for your life.
Exactly. So amplifying again what you're saying, I want to keep putting my finger also on the Quran aspect of it, and that is where what you're saying is supported and stated in Quranic language, in that blessed is he that causes it to grow, is the translation 91 as a usual translation, 91 7 through 10, that whole section of verses. Well, it says قد أفلح من زكاها, قد أفلح من زكاها. Aflaha means successful. It means success. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, successful. Qad, surely he is successful. Man zakaha, whoever spends on it. See, we say
Yes.
cause it to grow. Spend. So that means if you got to buy Audible, if you got to get a subscription to ACU, if you got to, buy a book, or you got to join a particular group XYZ, yeah, that's their market. And the point is, you don't focus on the price, you focus on the value. Is it something that solves a problem for you? And do you know how to translate that benefit into your marketplace, right? So that is a habit: language, logic, sensitivity. That's the language. What am I supposed to do? Invest in yourself, right? Well, what about myself should I invest in? Invest in improving that which is an innate part of your excellence. What are you already good at? And once that goodness, that's in the BLISS. We got to go. I'm trying to open up something else. BLISS: believe, locate, institutionalize, specialize, right? If you believe you have a potential, locate that potential. Institutionalize it, meaning find the discipline for it. Somebody on YouTube, Udemy, and everything else that you're talking about, somebody's just waiting to teach you the mastery of whatever that thing is. You are not the first one to ever do that, right? Somebody's already where you want to be, right? And they will show you how to get there for a price. Alhamdulillah. That's what you do. BLISS: believe, locate, institutionalize, find the discipline for it, and then specialize it. Specialize. You got to decide to be that thing that nobody can be better than you, because you are born with it. You are gifted with it. Everybody got something. God is not cheap. He gave everybody a gift. You just got to unwrap it, man. So, and then once you do
I got it. I'm sorry. I still got to come in. I got to do this real quick.
You have my permission.
But let me say this too, because the timer on my side, it says 51 minutes. So I'll be going through the idea that we got 60 minutes here. But neither here nor there. I don't want to waste my minute. So
go ahead.
A very good, something that Zarina said that stuck out in my mind, because I believe this and live by this, that if you have the vision for it, the idea for it, and all you have to ask is this good? Is this good for me? Is this for my highest good? Is this from Allah? Is this going to be good for humanity? If the answer is yes, then that idea was a gift from Allah, already saying it's yours.
Right.
It just has not been seen yet, but you see it. And that's what you have to keep moving in the direction of. So if you have the idea and the thought, if I say to myself, I want to feed 100 homeless people, Allah is already saying it's done, because that is a good thing. So now I'm doing all of the moves necessary to reach this vision that I have in my mind. Same thing with your business, your financial goal, and all of the things that you want to get. A second thing, how we approach the Quran, I'm using the term couture, but the Quran, as unique as our fingerprint, is there's the greatest hits for you, right? Because in the Quran, it's endless amounts of knowledge. What's that?
Customization. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, customization, right? There is, it's unique to you. There's something in there that every time you hear it, it moves you. Every time, like it is something that's always that you always remember, like this is that thing, this is that thing. Then what you need to do is, when that pops up for you, you drill down on that idea, because what you're looking for, that Allah is. All the ideas you get is from Allah. Like me picking up this pen, I'm not picking up this pen. Allah said, pick up the pen, they'll get it. It's like you do it. So when you drill down on that thing, if I say like the thing for me is, a shaitan threatens you with poverty, like that moves me, like that puts a heat underneath my seat. So now I'm like, I want to understand this nature of poverty. I want to understand this threat. I want to know what this is. And in me doing that, all of the other things of what it is that I need to understand for the work that I do, for the life that I live, Allah is saying, look, this Blue's Clues, look this way. Look
Yeah.
this way. You know,
Right,
I'm
right.
moved by the story of Miriam. Okay, well, why? Okay, why does that move me
Right,
so
right.
much? Because Allah is saying, I want you to look in this direction. Keep looking
Yeah.
there. Drill down
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Understand that. And
Right.
so we have to see what is it in there that's moving you, because that's where you will find your Quran and your
Allah,
best practices for your life.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Let us pray. The Ikama has been given, so let's pray.
Ameen.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. I think we are going to have to submit to the whole process, and we are going to have to go ahead and lock in this hour after whatever it is that we broadcast. We just can't shut it down. There's too much to be said and to be outlined. It's not just about the time; it's about the contribution that we want to make to everybody who's here with us. So in that regard, you know, we'll go ahead and take the additional, what I have 12 minutes, and we'll just cut out at the top of the hour here. Yeah, we'll do that. So let me contribute now. Blog Talk and also on Facebook, on the chats. Anybody can chime in. Now, I don't know. It's there's some things that I saw about Elijah that would kind of take us a little bit too far. Because you know, the baby bathwater thing, I was thinking in terms of what 19 Keys was saying. Well, let me reinforce something, and how it again it further supports why we're tracking the way that we're tracking on the ACU Institute page with the PIIIC, and inshallah we'll be throwing up the intuition side of it, because a lot of what we're saying, even at this point, has bearing on the issue of intuition. When you talk about your impulse or your urge and your desire to do something, and you're being moved by something in a way that other things don't move you, all that is talking about this thing that can be labeled. Intuition is just a label for an experience, right, and for a property. But it is a critical first point. Even when I talked about distributed cognition, cognition, or rather, this is what the social science says about it. As I said, shura is also a part of it, and God has already told us where God said, "Watawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr" in Surah Al-Asr, wal Asr, or Surah Al-Asr. Watawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Is saying mutually influence each other. You know, even in Surah An-Nas, the last chapter, yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. Yuwaswisu fi sudurin nas. This waswas inside of that's whispering. Watawasaw, there's a sound. There's an important consonants, meaning sounding like situations like I influence you, you influence me. But we're supposed, that's human beings influence each other anyway. But Allah tells us how we're supposed to influence each other, and through what are we supposed to influence each other? Watawasaw bil haqq. We're supposed to influence each other with the truth, with the haqq, the reality of it, and that watawasaw sabr, meaning that there may be a situation, and no doubt there's always a situation where we have to, quote unquote, be patient with each other, right? If my development hasn't arrived at a level that it needs to arrive at in order for me to be able to do something with you, then it may cause for you to be patient with me as I evolve and come to the place where I need to be, and vice versa. So when we cooperate with each other with that in mind, and don't, you know, take our ball and go home every time we're dissatisfied with something that happens between us, then we'll never get anything done if that's the way. So when it says watawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr, that's behavior. So that's language. وَتَوَصَّوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَصَّوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. That's language. Okay, where's the logic? Meaning, what's the behavioral expectation that goes with the language? Oh, okay. It means that I'm supposed to seek to influence them with truth. I'm to be open to be influenced by them with truth also. That's another thing. The idea of, if I'm going to influence you, then that means that you have to allow me in some way to impress you. It's like, but if everything I do, you say I'm not impressed. It's like, I'm not impressed.
Right.
So we show no appreciation. We don't show that we're impressed by the manifestation of whatever measure of the gift that someone shows forward. We want to applaud them because we want them to keep coming forward with that gift, right? So by showing, oh, I'm impressed with what you're doing, that's a nurturing act on their part, right? And so the sensitivity is saying, that should be your disposition. That's the sensitivity side of it. That's that third step. First step, hear the language. Second step, know the behavior that flows from the language. And then the third step, sensitivity, walk around with that attitude. That's really what it means. That's your spirit. That's your disposition. That's your demeanor. That's what you're sensitive to. Just like you're saying that you hear a verse, you see a verse, you read a verse, and it touches you in a way that other verses don't touch you. Okay, in the same way, our sensitivity for certain things should be always present if we're on this project, right? So if I'm on the Ummah project, then I'm always sensitive and therefore looking out for what's good for it, and sensitive and looking out for what's bad for it, right?
Exactly.
That's now my body. My body is from the language and the logic that flows, that has come into me and that I have embraced and I believe and that I subscribe to. So that's a very important way of being that we have to adopt. All right, so we got maybe about 5 more minutes or so. Any comments on your part? And
no, I'm going to take this time to mention the ACU Institute. Okay. That we have the Future Roots leadership classes. New classes will be loaded up every month. This month, we will be adding the components for the Mariam Institute, the Muslim American Research Institute advocating marriage. That if you're an all access member, you'll have access to those modules that will be loaded up this month. Inshallah, by Friday, this coming Friday, we have some modules that we loaded up. If you're only for Mariam, then you'll have access to just the Mariam stuff. If you have access to Future Roots, you'll only have access to Future Roots. And so forth. With the all access, you get access to both of those memberships. We're looking at, because we are a team of myself and my assistant, some things may take a little longer to get them updated on there, but we have carved out a time and a strategy to ensure that we don't fall behind in any way. So I'm confident that we'll be on top of it with this platform. But Allah knows best. But I'm not using that as an escape term. I'm saying we have a schedule, just like you get up today, you going to work tomorrow.
The inshallah move on us.
Yeah. Like we clear about like what's happening, because we want to honor the space. We want to honor this educational space. And I know, I'm confident and trust that what it is that the ACU Institute is providing for the community is not like anything else that is being provided. So I know this is, and I have to say this, and I'm saying this with love and warmth, like as a parent saying to their child, don't run in the street, right? I can recognize that there is a learning gap in the technology, and we have got to up our game on how to engage the digital space. Because everything is different, and we have to understand how we as a community will get left behind if we don't raise our learning curve about how to engage technology. And I don't want us to be left behind, because just as you know, I don't consider myself a youth. I'm 48. Proudly 48. But I know that I always have to, like, I stay tapped in with my son about, okay, what's the latest on this? I'll go to YouTube if I don't understand something on social media. I sit down to close the gap of not knowing in order to do that. And we can't make the ACU Institute any simpler than it is. It is a severely simple. It's just a matter of look for the word, tap it, it's open. Like that's it.
That's how it works.
So I want us to really be able to engage and really experience the richness of it, and what it is that we hope to provide for everyone.
Yeah, we got that. We're going to get to the point where we're bringing guests on too as well, and that's going to be soon. I mean, you and I, we have to huddle a little bit more, but we can talk this much of it out in the public. But I have a statement and an example. One of the statements is that the definition of the technology gap. The definition of it is the technology that's available and the technology that's in use. Okay, how much technology is available now? The individual steps up and you look and you ask, how much of the available technology am I actually using? Right, to the distance between what you're actually using, what's actually available, that's the gap. So if there's a lot of stuff out there that you're not using, well, that's the technology gap. Closing that gap means gaining competencies in your particular domain that's critical. That's it. And I would say, for example, of course, you're my daughter. Of course, Kiama, right? I just got on a little, I won't call it a little thing, a business thing with Kiama, right? This is a young lady who was one of the students in jail. Okay, I knew her obviously before she was born. And when I'm saying I've known her all her life, but I just subscribed to something that she's in business on, that there's a technology gap for me. I know something about it, but there's something I don't know about it. And so now there she is. She's already there, leading, making it happen, doing it. And it's like, okay, well, here I come now. It's time, the shoes on the other foot, right? And as you say, you check in with your son. Now we check out. So these generations that have come up behind us and are making progress in the world that they don't know anything about rotary dial phones or telephone booths or anything like that, right? So it's like, but they're in touch with this current technology, and you're able to leverage that and get the benefit from that. Yes. So that is the advice. Baby boomers, come on, baby boomers, you got to step out. You got to come out of the shadows. You got to, grab hold of something, give it a try, give it a shot, humble yourself, learn. And as she's saying, you have to, flatten that learning curve so that, everything doesn't feel like it's such a big mountain to climb. Plus, when you have those young people that are close enough and patient enough with you to be able to walk you and talk you through it, oh, well, that's payback for that's a return on your investment. All right, we got to be out.
Sister Amatala asked a question about what is ACU Institute. It's the learning platform for a clear understanding, with all of the classes and access to the archives of Imam Fahim Shuaib. Please I sent you my website on your side, Dad. Put that in the comments down there, and also put the website for the ACU Institute.
I'm missing it some kind of way.
In the private chat, look in the chat window.
Look in the chat window. See, this is live learning right here. So
it's all good.
Okay, what I see, the only ones I see her question. I don't see your
at the top, there's one that says private chat and one that says comments. Right above the comment area.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but see, y'all. This is
so cut and paste
live learning. Okay.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Here we go.
And then also type in ACU Institute. I provided my website because I do business strategy coaching and regular life coaching as well. So I'm available for those things, like more detailed stuff, strategies based on the conversations that we're having here, because 1 hour in here is still a conversation, but you may have a very specific thing you want to execute, and I'm here to do that. And then ACU Institute.
Clearunderstanding.org?
No, we're .institute.
Oh, .institute.
A clear understanding Institute.
Okay. All right, that's what I put
Okay.
in there.
All
Let's see
right.
what
So I
shows
think you
up.
did it.
That's it?
Yep.
And that'll get you there. All right. Alhamdulillah.
And that'll get you there.
Thank you as always. All right, everybody. Have a great day, and inshallah,
Alhamdulillah.
till the next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.